Hello YouTube, ES Win or Ellie Valkyrie here, whichever you prefer. I'd like to talk to you today about UPG. What is it and how you should feel about it. UPG, if you're new to the Heathen Path, you've probably seen this term and wondered what it was. If you're experienced in the Heathen Path, you probably either cringe at the thought of it or desperately seek it out, one or the other, right? It seems like people tend to fall in one camp or the other. So, to the point, what is UPG? UPG stands for Unverified Personal Gnosis. There's a lot of big words, isn't it? Unverified Personal Gnosis. Well, what does that mean? That means mystical experiences. That means personal experiences with the mystical or the shamanic. That means stuff that isn't in the Eddas, that isn't in the lore, right? Or maybe is inspired by contact with the Eddas and the lore, but that you had while you were out, doing your own shamanic journey or your own meditation, visualization type of thing. So for example, one could say, well, something that comes directly from the sagas, or that comes directly from the Eddas, like Odin has one eye. That's not UPG. That's established in the Eddas, right? So saying that Odin likes brownies would definitely be UPG. And some people, there are a great number of people in the heathen community who will use UPG like a label in place of the word crap or garbage. And I think that's sad because we have a living tradition, a living ancestral tradition that comes from our tribal ancestors. All these little Germanic tribes spread across thousands of miles in Europe, Northern Europe. And the tradition continues to live to this day, and it morphs and evolves and changes as all religious traditions do, especially ones that are shamanically rooted, where each shaman or practitioner has their own unique and independent practice that shares commonalities with other practices within the same body, but each one being ultimately individualistic and unique. Like, for example, I'm holding this, which is my ritual implement that I use for establishing sacred space. And one could say that this particular piece embodies in a way both UPG and not UPG. All right, we could say in the Eddas, for example, the reason why I chose an antler as my piece, there are many reasons why I chose an antler as a ritual piece, right? But the main reason comes directly from the Eddas, and that is when Freyr, which that's his name in runes there on the length of it, when Freyr gave up his sword to Skrimnir and no longer could use it in Ragnarok, he had to defeat the giant Beli with an antler, right? So in a way, this is the Freyr's later equivalent to his sword. Of course, it's not enough to save anybody in Ragnarok, but it is used for slaying the giant. And so in a sense, it is a ritual implement, something that could be used as a ritual implement. The UPG part of this would be the fact that we would need a ritual element, right, or casting tool, right? Someone might say, well, that comes from ceremonial magic, or that comes from Wicca. Oh, you're practicing Wicca true, and that sort of thing. But when it comes to a personal path, the most important thing is not what other people think. It's about what works. And let me tell you, when I take a ritual implement like this, and I hold it in my hand, and I create sacred space with it, I can feel it, whether other people can or not, and other people have. Whether you can or not watching this video, I should say. Other people have, I have, it's there, it's UPG. But if it weren't for UPG, Unverified Personal Gnosis, our tradition would never grow, would never evolve, would be stuck in the Stone Ages, and would not be a living, wonderful ancestral tradition that we can become a part of as Northern Europeans and non-Northern Europeans. Anyone who feels called by the Germanic gods can experience this living tradition and add to it. So that's my perspective on UPG, Unverified Personal Gnosis. I have a Patreon page. If you'd like to check it out, I'll put the link in the About section of the video. I'm also the author of 71 books in print, most of which are science fiction. So you can feel free to check those out too. I'll put a link down there for that. Please, if you like this video, like, subscribe, share, and if you have any questions, that you'd like video answers to or text answers to, that kind of thing, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will check them out and maybe make videos inspired off of them. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I hope you learned something wonderful, and I hope you have an excellent day. Thank you.